Going on, everybody? Back at it here. This time got everything on the Pontiac G6 panoramic roof cleaned up. The only thing I got to do now is basically go over the weather stripping here. I'm gonna try to look up a few remedies here, things that I can see how I can kind of help to clean those and kind of like revive them a little bit. They're actually in good shape. They're not torn, they're not cracked or anything. They're just dirty, and you know, I mean, they've probably been the same weather stripping that's come on the car. So I know there's different ways, excuse me, that you can kind of help revive them a little bit. And so I'm going to look up some information on that. But everything's working great. I'm going to show you a few things that I did. Got everything that I needed to get it cleaned up and put back together for the most part. And I got my jump box and everything here. Got the switch right there. So I'm going to open it up here so you can kind of see what I did. But everything is working perfect, y'all. I got the glass cleaned up as well. So that's the third setting. That's the fourth setting with it all the way up. So what I did is I went inside all the tracks here and I cleaned up everything. There was just a lot of old dirt and grime and old grease and stuff in there. That new white grease that you see is actually this grease right here that I use just to kind of re-lube everything up. And I sprayed some WD-40 right down in there as well to kind of help lube some things up as well. So as you can see on the inside tracks that the arms ride on, I put that white lube inside there, and some things that aren't, and some parts of the tracks that aren't really touching at all, maybe just kind of lightly gliding and rubbing. I sprayed some WD-40 just so it didn't get all clumped up, because that's what I was finding, is that some of the old grease was getting clumped up in areas and kind of just built up and then just dried over time, and it was kind of useless just kind of sitting there. So in those areas I put some WD-40, but everything's intact, y'all. Again, that new white grease is mine. No broken pieces, no nothing. The only thing that was wrong with it is the panel 2 and panel 4 on this side here wasn't sealing up all the way. So basically when it closed, you could just move it and it would go up and down. But what I found out is that these pins, if you can see them, that pin right there, that silver head, so that was out, and that one was out. So what I did is when I opened it up, the pins were actually basically just sitting right here inside the track. Both of them were. So I found one, and then I ended up finding the other one a little later as I kept playing with opening and closing the sunroof. So what I did is I basically took some needle nose pliers, and it's a tight area, so I just put it in there, and then I basically just kind of pressed it back in with some vice grips. So this part I believe is plastic or some type of hard plastic, so I just put like a cloth on there so I wouldn't damage it, and then I put my vice grips on it like that, and then I pressed from here to here because they have to be pressed in. So I'll just keep an eye on them just to make sure they don't fall out. And when I install the sunroof, but other than that, y'all, it's all good. Nothing wrong with it. Got it all cleaned up, and the next stage is, like I said, just I'm gonna try to revive the weather stripping a little bit, and then just go from there. See if I can continue to use this and get no leaks out of it. If not, I can probably look to see if I can buy some weather stripping to replace it. But yeah, that's it. I went through this wiring as well. So the only wiring that you need for it, and I know somebody was asking me about this, is there's two really thick wires, the red wire and the black wire. So you'll see that they're thicker than the rest of the wires. I'm not sure what gauge it is. Sorry, my air compressor's on. So you'll see, hold on, let me wait till that thing shuts off. Anyway, so again, these are the wires that you just need to run it. So I'm not sure what gauge these are, maybe 12, 14 gauge or something like that, but they're considerably thicker than the rest. This is the ground. That red with the white stripe, that's the positive battery power wire. And then that yellow one, I call it an accessory wire. So you need to have that hooked up to the positive wire, power wire for the sunroof and the shade to work. So again, the thicker black wire, the red wire with the white stripe, and the yellow is the only single yellow wire in there. Has to be hooked up to the red on the positive side. I have it just on a jump box here. That supplies 12 volts. It has to have 12 volts in order for it to run. Also, these extra wires that come with it, I know technically you don't need them, but I'm probably just going to keep them because they supply power to lights and different things inside the G6. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to keep that way if I needed to use them for whatever reason. Maybe I wanted to put lights in my sun visor or whatever, you know, down the road, that I could just have that capability. So you got your 4 wires here. The orange ones are the positives side. Then you have your 3 blacks and your and your 2 grays. Those are basically like the ground wire. So these are your ground wires, and then these are your positive wires for the lights. And I have them all just wrapped together that way. If I hooked this up to the positive terminal and these 2 up to the negative terminal, I would get power to the different outlets. So the different outlets you see are like here. There's one. There's another. Here's another. And then here is another one down here. So those actually hooked up to like the dome light, the sun visor light, the 2 lights that were right here. Those hooked up to that. So I just thought that I would keep it just in case I wanted to run something down the road, or something that needed power, you know, lights or something like that down the road. I would have that accessible. So anyways, y'all, that's pretty much it.